So these are one of the things that happens when you have a masculine mother raising a, a son. So what ends up happening is when the son is really young, you get a little bit of the femininity coming out of the mother because the kid has neotenous traits and he's more neotenous, he's cute, he's cuddly. But as he gets older, that dies out and the mother becomes more masculinized because the kid's not so cute and cuddly anymore, right? That's where it gets difficult. I'll give you an example for the validation thing. What you see is with women who exhibit alpha traits for females, that would be like more nurturing, more feminine traits because alpha traits are different for females than they are for males. So for the women, the more feminine traits, those women will tend to validate the sons in terms of their abilities and their masculinity. And what you'll see with those boys is they'll be more confident. Uh, with women, they'll be more confident in their skills. They'll be more confident in general. But with the masculine mothers, they'll be very critical of the boy in terms of his ability to in terms of his ability to actually produce something good. But that in itself ends up being emasculating. Criticism from fathers is actually very critical to a boy's development. But again, we're talking about single mother households, so that kind of is out of the picture. So the women who exhibit more alpha traits for females, and meaning more feminine traits, those boys end up becoming more alpha themselves in terms of their masculinity. So in a way, even though the boy is missing his father, he can still gain a decent level of masculinity if his mother is feminine. But if the mother is masculine, the more likely scenario is that the boy will learn to supplicate to the females around him. And so he'll be a very snivelly, wormy little thing, very manipulative. Um, he won't be able to say the things he wants up front because he's learned in his childhood that saying things that you want up front is not good. Um, I could go further with that, but I'm not. Not right now. As I've said, there's differences in the outcomes from the boys that come from alpha women and beta women in terms of their development and growth and stuff like that. One of the biggest reasons why boys don't become alphas, when I say alphas for males, that means masculine. Um, One of the reasons why boys don't become masculine in their youth is one part due to emasculation, but the other part is because mothers um, because if you want to have alpha children, when I say alpha children, I mean alpha males. If you want to have alpha males, one of the things you have to do is you have to give a responsibility, and then you have to give a consequence for that lack of responsibility. That's how you build alpha children. That's how you build alpha males. So a lot of times, so if you slip up on that particular thing, it can be very easy for the child to take advantage of you, even into their 20s and 30s, thinking, oh, I don't have to do anything. I can just live with my parents and stuff. I've done this, you know. It's it's not even something I think about. It just happens. But I've done it, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I can see it's not a good thing. But um, when you know you're going to get bailed out, even when you make a mistake, I mean, that's pretty much where you get your. That's where the criminals come from. Most of those criminals come from single mother households. And that's nothing bad on the single mothers. That's just saying the reason why they're in that pen is because they had a responsibility to do something and someone didn't hold them accountable. Like no one gave them consequences for their actions when they were young. But now they had to learn it later in life. And it's I'm glad I didn't have to learn it that way. That's for sure. I would say I'm blessed I didn't have to learn it that way, but oftentimes the men in my community, that's the route they go, and it's like a conveyor belt. It's ridiculous. I don't think that's due to my intelligence. I think there are things that my mom did that were really good that actually kept me from that path. So, what the main point of this is, why is it that masculine women tend to raise very feminine or beta men? Um, it's a lot of different things. Um, there's this one thing that I've been thinking about for a while. If she is the kind of mom that you know takes a dump on the dad around the kid, that especially if the dad was actually abusive and he actually beat her or something, then a lot of times the boy can end up becoming very hateful. He can develop this insidious self-hatred towards his own masculinity, and he'll actually suppress it and become more feminine as a result. That's a way that boys can become feminine. But then there's also the other side where, he hates the dad, but he ends up becoming super masculine. That's another way. That's a or at least physically, on the outside. A lot of there's some who, they witness their fathers beating actually physically beating their mothers, and they'll take it upon themselves to be her protector because boys they're naturally protective of their mothers and they have those instincts by nature. So if the boy is witnessing the father who is naturally supposed to protect his mother beating his mother, then there's actually stories where boys will actually work out, and even into their middle age they'll get strong enough to where when the father actually puts his hands on the woman, like on his mother again, the boy will either lay the guy out flat, because he's not a boy anymore, he's a man, right? And what you see in these stories is the boys realize that attacking the man and hitting the man who hit their mother, oftentimes it wasn't enough for them emotionally. So that's an interesting thing in itself. Another way where a boy ends up becoming a beta male, which is a feminine male, a more feminine male, is codependency. I did say I would give the solution, so I have to be a man of my word. Which even phrases like that are signify alpha traits in men because it signifies that you follow very logical and linear principles and people can trust you to lead them, right? So as a guy, you don't want to be a beta male, or even if you're a single mom listening, as a single mom, you don't want to raise a beta male. So actions have consequences. Very simple. Um, the other thing is for the males, um, for the ones who grew up in a similar situation as myself, one of the things you have to do is you have to be willing to admit when you were wrong, and you have to be willing to say it to those around you. That's a really important thing. Um, Whatever that is, anything you were actually wrong about, admitting it, and then moving on. But then after that, you have to be willing to do things, to move, because right now you're in a very passive energy and it's very feminine, right? You're trying to exact pleasure and you're just sitting and feeling that. See, that doesn't really produce a lot of testosterone, so you're not going to really be able to get in your more natural alpha state just by sitting. There's a part of society. There's also a part of of our society that's trying to turn guys into very feminine, weak, people. Even in the food, but no excuses. You could get out there. You could lift weights. That's a solution. I'm not saying you have to lift the heaviest weights. Just do something. You could cut the grass. That's an activity that builds testosterone because it requires focus and it requires you to accomplish a goal, a specific goal. Anything that requires you to do something specific and get it done, that's what you got to do. And you have to find as many of those as you can, and then you can build testosterone. Now, any situation where you're sitting still and you don't need to be sitting still, that's probably something you probably don't need to be doing that. It's probably a waste of your time. Um, that's at least something I think that's actionable. Another thing for any of the single mothers who may be listening. So, um, one thing you could do, um, one thing you could do if you would like, um, you could exhibit more, try exhibiting alpha female traits. Whenever a boy comes to you about his emotional issues, try to embody that of a feminine woman. Try to respond in a way that she would respond. And even not just that, other alpha traits for females. Try to embody those traits. And so whenever the boy comes up to you, you will find that when you adopt the more alpha traits for females, the boy's spirit won't be broken and it will actually grow. His spirit will grow. So, for example, men value competence. That's something that we're wired to value. So, I'll give you an example. This was recent, probably a year or two ago, but I was driving in a car, and a lot of times my mom didn't really think that I was. It seemed because I don't know. I guess I had bad driving habits. She didn't really trust others to drive her, and